For today's tutorial, we'll be looking at the importance and techniques on how to clean data in Excel. If you work with data, you know that clean data is key. If you know how to clean data in Excel, you already have one of the most important skill, especially when it comes to data analytics. And that is why we know that the data in real jobs are never clean. So it will require you do some cleanup in some cases, right? Now, that is why in this tutorial, I would like to show you how to clean messy data sets like a sales data sets like this, right? Like a professional. Now, looking at this data, you may probably think it is clean, but however, if you look at it very well, you could see that there are spaces before the name, and even for some data sets, you will find out that there are trailing spaces after the name, right? So, and that is why it's important that we carry out cleaning. And for some, looking at this column, right, you could see that some of the name are all in capital letter, while some are in small letter, while for others they are actually in proper way. Now, if you look at date column, you could see that some of the dates are aligned to the left. This is because this particular data set, this particular data is in text format, while others are in dates. So these are some of the dilemma you find out. And if you look at the sales amount, you see inconsistency in terms of the sign, right? The dollar sign here they're using word USD. And this is just an example of some data set you're going to find. Looking at status, you see complete in capital, while others are not. And you can see we have some empty rows right in this data set. So having done this preliminary exploration, so let's go ahead and jump into what to do first, right? So in a data set like this, since I have empty columns, I have empty rows, I mean, the first thing I would love to do is to remove the empty rows. And for this, usually, for you to highlight the entire data, you only need to click any place in between the data and press Ctrl A. But in this case, since there is an empty row, Ctrl A will not select all the data. So what you need to do is to select the entire column, click here, and with that, you can select the entire data set. So with this, with our data set fully selected, what I would like to do is go to use the find and replace, select it, go to special, right? And with that, I select blanks. So with this, it's going to highlight all the blanks in my data set. I click it and I like OK. You see, it has helped me to highlight all the blank rows. So what do I need to do is to delete the entire row. And to do that, I go to delete and select delete all the row from the sheet. With this one click, all is taken care of. So the next thing I would like to do is to check for duplicate in the data set. And to do that, what I would do is select the entire data set. For in this case, I can use Control A. The entire data set is selected. And for this, I need to go to the data tab, right? And I use select or remove duplicate. And of course, because my data set has an header, that is why it is selected here. And with this, all I need to do is say OK. And this is telling me there are no duplicate found in this data set. So that means it's super cool. For data that has duplicate, definitely it will remove them. So in this case, there is no duplicate. So that means I'm good to go, right? So next I need to do is to format this name column. That is the customer name. For this, I will introduce another column, right? Insert a new column. With this, I'll use the text function to do that. So what I intend to do, what I want to have is the name should be in proper format. That is, start with a capital letter and the remaining character should be in small letters. So for this, what will I do? I'll start by typing in the equal sign and I'll use proper, right? The proper function, and I select the cell and then enter. So you see it has formatted it to proper. So with this, I can just double click here, it apply the same formatting down for me. However, if you look at this data set, you will still find out that, for instance, if you look at this, there is some leading spaces before the name started, and that is where the trim function come into play. right? So this is where we use the trim function. So what the trim function does is remove all the leading spaces before the text and also any other spaces after the text, right? We usually have this kind of cases where people are filling form. For instance, they are typing because they're used to typing. You find out the autofill. Most times when you click on the autofill, it usually add extra space for you. So in order to remove all those spaces, we use the trim function. I can also apply the trim function in this particular data set. So all I need to do is double click and type in my trim function, right? So, and I close the bracket. So you see it has removed the spaces. So with that, it has trimmed all other spaces, both leading and lagging spaces. And with this is well formatted. I can copy. Since I'm copy, I'll apply it here. What I'm going to do is I'm using paste special to paste only the values, not the formula. So I use paste value, right? So that is taken care of. So with this, I can see that my name column is well taken care of, right? So, and with this, I can delete this. Oh yeah, to delete that, you can just use Control and the negative sign, right? So it's delete that. Now, the next thing I need to do, right, is I'll apply the filter. I'll apply the filter first, right? So with this, I can just check and do a quick check. Okay, there are all okay, right? So the same thing I check to be sure that others are not in caps or misspelled, right? So next, I'll have to do the next thing I'm going to do here is to take care of these sales column, right? Now to take care of the sales column, first thing is I need it to be formatted as numbers, right? And secondly, I need it to be formatted as currency. The first thing I need to do is to remove all the dollar sign, right? So what I can do here is I can highlight this particular cell, use find and replace. So what am I replacing? I'm replacing the dollar signs, replacing all dollar signs with nothing. So replace all. You see 12 have been replaced. Good. Next thing I need to do is also to remove this USD, right? If you look at this is the only one that has USD, right? So the same thing, I'll do find and replace. So what am I finding is USD, right? Replace it with nothing. Exactly. And in this case where we have NA, what I need to do is to replace it with nothing. So with that, I can just delete this. So next, I can convert this into currency, right? So, and we have this properly formatted. The same thing, we check this. Okay, everything is intact. Next, we'll need to work on is on the date column. Like I said, you find out that some are in text format. So what you need to do, what I would do here is to convert everything first to short dates. So with that, we have our dates well aligned. Next, we need to do is to go ahead and format the payment column. Of course, if you look at this, we see everything is card, cash, and transfer. But however, what we need to do, we can come here and use the proper. Remember what we say, proper. Right, then apply the same formula. And we can copy the text, put them here. Remember, we used to paste value. Good. Same thing, we need to also apply the same dropper to the same column, right? So you can copy and paste here. You can paste it there, paste the value, and with this, you can remove this column. And here we have a very clean data set, right? So this is a very simple way to format your data set. And of course, if we want, we can make this bold, right? And we have our data set clean and well formatted, ready for further analysis. Of course, for the different techniques we've used, I need to mention to you that there are other ways that this can be achieved, right? So that's the beauty of Excel. There are different ways to get this done. I would like to know in the comment section how you will approach yours. Just drop it in the comment section. And if you're new to this channel, please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video as we continue to build on this data set.